Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Co-Star, the official newspaper of the Borough of Belmar, and the Asbury Park Press on December 22nd, 2021, and notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building. Roll call, Councilman Brennan.
Here.
Councilman McKinney.
Here.
Mayor Walsberg.
Here.
Councilman McCracken.
Here.
Councilman Carvelli.
Here. Thank you, April. If everybody could rise and join me in saluting the flag of our great nation. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody could just remain standing for a moment for our troops, their families, and all our first responders. Thank you. Okay, first up, workshop.
And then I'll give you the hours.
We're just going to go over a couple of statistics for the summer. So, our chief, you have some statistics that so the council can hear, what went on through the summer.
Yes, I do. Good evening, everyone. Pulled together a report for the summer activity for the police department beginning May 1st to September 6th, which is Labor Day. For that time, we received 6,308 calls. Out of those calls received, 3,558 were self-initiated, which means that the officer initiated the call himself, whether he or she saw something happening, a disorderly person, noise call, littering, or something like that. So that was the calls for the summertime. During that time, 451 borough ordinances were issued on the beach, with the highest for glass on the beach, alcohol on the beach, not having a beach badge, and smoking on the beach, were the four top summonses issued for the beachfront. The other ordinances that were issued around town were 747. So those were the ordinance issued for disorderly persons, noise, more of the stuff that happens after hours, after beach hours. I said noise, alcohol in public. And there, our biggest one was public urination. And then sleeping in public was a bigger one. And then we have, it's called interference with business. It's kind of our local disorderly persons offense that we use. And then the other disorderly persons borough offenses, such as like criminal mischief, defiant trespass, disorderly conduct, there was 264 summonses issued. So a total of 1,462 borough ordinances were issued throughout that period of time. We had 162 arrests, and then we had 388 motor vehicle violations. So that's not including parking. That is just moving violations such as speeding, careless, failure to stop at a stop sign. And then the last report I have, well, actually, not the last one, for parking violations, for handwritten violations, so this would be in the yellow, or no parking violations, was 1,942. And then for our overtime parking, which is along the metered parking, we still call it metered parking, the paid parking, along the beachfront and the two lakes, was approximately 8,000. Our system has been down, the state system. We've had numerous calls to the state, numerous emails to the state, and usually we can just go on there and print out the report, but I got the number from the court, which their numbers are actually better than our numbers. So totaling parking tickets for the summer were 9,942. As far as community policing, we did change it up this year, and we asked that the residents call the police department instead of emailing their captains and, the time frame and us actually getting the complaints and stuff like that. So the community policing oriented calls were 802 calls were received, and 231 calls were self-initiated by the officers. So that is the report from the police department. If anybody has any questions or wants a better breakdown, you can call me and I can give that to you. But I would also like to make a report on our EMS services. Back in July, we went to shared services at Belmont, Seagirt, and Manasquan. So I had Rob DeMartin, who's our supervisor, run a report from May 30th to September 5th. They responded to 675 calls within the 4 boroughs. Out of those calls, their response time, on average, for the 4 towns was less than 5 minutes per call. And then out of those 675 calls, we have mutual aid agreements with Wall, Neptune City, Neptune. They were able to not only answer our calls, but assist those towns with 29 calls during those months. They're currently operating with a staff of 1 supervisor, 8 full-time EMTs, and approximately 13 part-time EMTs. So, and they have 2 rigs on per day. Throughout they're doing a 12-hour shift. So there's the day shift, the night shift, and then they have a per diem shift, which is a 10-hour shift to cover the busier times during the day, which is flexible depending on what's going on in the town. Any questions?
Thank you. Any council have questions?
Just so I'm clear, it sounds like the shared service is really working. Right?
Absolutely.
It sounds like it's
Absolutely.
really making a difference.
Absolutely.
Response
And I
time.
see them all over the 4 towns. My son frequents that one a lot, so I'm down there a lot, and it's you see the Belmar truck around town, Seagirt and Manasquan area, so.
Just a couple other statistics I want to bring up. So the lifeguards this year did an unbelievable job. They had over 16,000 preventative maintenance or preventative action calls where they're whistling people out of the waters and stuff like that. But some of the numbers that popped out was they had 515 documented rescues and 70 lost children. So it was a busy summer. And then some of the other ones, I just want to go over some of the beach badge numbers. We sold 16,676 season badges. Disability badges was 245. Senior badges was 5,581 badges. Dailies were 287,163. And the vets took, I was glad to see that over 7,800 vets took advantage of our beach, so that was a nice number to say. And then there was, our summer rentals this year were 262. Our yearly rentals were 69. Title transfers were 33 so far this year. And some of the borough ordinances during the summer for code enforcement was 83. 78 summer inspections were done. So, overall, when you look at some of the numbers, we have a little busy square mile. We have a busy town in the summertime, but it's nice to get through the summer and take a look at some of these numbers and see exactly what all our employees have to do, because it is busy and they are out there working, where a lot of people will say, you don't see the police doing anything or anything like that, but when you listen to the numbers, they're working all summer. So, and of course, Billy must know our DPW director. He's going to give us a report for the next meeting, correct? Okay. Anybody have any questions on?
No, I'm just really impressed with that number of calls. It sounds like almost half of the calls are self-initiated by our officers. That's really amazing. That's really something. And I'm also very happy to hear that we're writing tickets for smoking on the beach.
And just one thing I meant to point out, we were working with half the staff that we normally do as far as seasonal
That's
staff.
right.
Wow.
So, for those numbers, I think they're very good.
Looks like everyone's working hard.
And the lifeguards too, Mayor, right? Weren't the lifeguards, we were short lifeguards this year too?
Yes, we're short lifeguards, but everybody pulled together. They did a great job this summer. We made it through another season, so. But when you start to go through all the numbers, that's why we wanted to bring them up tonight, because if you look at it and everybody's working hard. So. All right, that's all we have.
Well, actually, I'm sorry, I have one more thing for workshop tonight. On behalf of the council and all the employees of Belmar, we'd like to wish Mayor Walsifer a happy birthday today.
birthday to you.
That was very embarrassing. Thank you, everybody. All right, and a July with one. April, do you have any petitions?
No, I do not.
Approval of the minutes for September 6th.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 6th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Report to council. Councilman Carvelli?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I was out of town pretty much for the last 2 weeks, so I don't have much to report. I know that the Harbor Commission met and that the Finance Committee is supposed to be meeting later this week. Yesterday, the Planning Board met. We had one application for what is being called the Newman Project, which is on 11th Avenue and 711 and 35. That was passed unanimously, so that project will be moving forward. And other than that, I don't have anything to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President McCracken.
Thank you, Mayor. As you all know, September is known as local summer here in Belmar. And I was looking back on the last 14 days since we had our last meeting. And a lot has happened, a lot of really cool things. So we had the Belmar Pro Surf Tournament. It's the largest, I'm told, it's the largest surfing tournament on the East Coast. That happened here on our Belmar Beach. It was well attended. I know there were a lot of spectators and professional surfaces. I think the guy who won is from Barbados or something like that. And our own Eastern Line Surf Shop and other local organizations support that event, and that was a really, really cool thing to attend and watch. The Belmar Fishing Club had a Fisherman's Mass. The Belmar Historical Society hosted the 150th anniversary celebration at the Taylor Pavilion, so kudos to that group of volunteers. Put on a really nice community day. The fire department was there with their antique equipment, and then several Belmar organizations and other area organizations focused on environmental issues, and many others were there educating the public. Tom Brennan and I had a chance to walk around a little bit there and really learned a lot. So thank you for the Belmar Historical Society for doing that. Then we had the Autism Beach Badge, another nice event hosted by a local organization. Thankfully, the weather held off, and in attending that event, looked to me to be very well run and organized, and everybody seemed to be enjoying themselves that day as well. Sadly enough, in the last few weeks, we had 9/11, and there were several events held in town to commemorate that tragedy. There was a memorial run, which was organized by Tim Mahoney. The Light Up the Shore was held that night at 8:46. That was put on by the county commissioners. And then that morning, there was a commemoration ceremony at the Belmar Housing Authority as well. Moving on from that, we had a dinner honoring our current and past San Gennaro honorees, hosted by Nick Vasili at La Dolce Vita. Well attended, very nice event. Pat Roddy did his final concert at Belmar Library. And then, of course, this past weekend, we had the San Gennaro Festival on Main Street, and what a nice event. There were a lot of vendors there. It's exciting to see all that was happening on Main Street and those two blocks. We've got a new business coming in next to the Flames. Had an opportunity to meet the owner there. They're very excited to be a part of Belmar and open their business in town. They're planning to be open by the end of October, and they've imported a pizza oven. It's not going to be a pizza shop. They've imported a pizza oven directly from Italy, and it's going to be sort of an Italian food fusion restaurant, which is really neat. In addition to the Festival of San Gennaro, which was held last weekend. I know of at least 2 halfway to St. Patrick's Day parties that were held in town. So there was a lot going on, including a luncheon today for the seniors at the Belmar Housing Authority, which was hosted by the Belmar Fishing Club. So I'm sure my other colleagues here on the council are going to have more to add on these events, but I just wanted to kind of go through the list and just in general thank all these organizations who care so deeply about Belmar, who really work hard to make our town as awesome as it is to live and work. Just want to follow up on one item regarding the Belmar Housing Authority and the failure of the elevator there. The Town Office of Emergency Management has met with the staff at the Belmar Housing Authority. They have revised and reviewed all the policies, not all the policies and procedures weren't revised, but all of them were reviewed. Some of them were revised to add, further strengthen the system and add an additional level of checks and balances so that if something happens again, which I certainly hope it doesn't, the residents and staff there know to activate the Office of Emergency Management so folks can come right away and help them provide services. Which just leads me to general advice to everybody. We have a police department and a fire department and an EMS squad that are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help residents. So if you ever need assistance with anything, even if you don't think it's an emergency, call them. Someone will come and check in on you. They provide public services to our residents, and our residents should, I just wanted to reinforce this evening that those services are there, they're available to folks, but they can't come and help you if they don't know that you are needing some help or even potentially needing help. So please, we've worked really, really hard to make sure there is a continuity of services in the first aid squad. We're adding a new public safety building down in the south end of town on Main Street. More will come about that shortly. We've strengthened the fire department through grants, new fire trucks. Our regional EMS service is, I believe, going to be a statewide model. And of course, we've got a fantastic chief with well-trained officers who this summer, because of the workforce shortage and just the general staffing issues that all businesses are having, it's not exclusive to the private sector, it's the public as well, has done a fantastic job protecting our residents. And lastly, I just want to remind everybody, because fall is coming, and Tom Brennan and I were talking about this with his brother at the Belmar Historical Society 150th anniversary celebration, and there are some concerns with from an environmental standpoint about leaves getting in the storm drains and clogging them with hurricane season and rain coming up, and then obviously those leaves even getting into our Shark River and the Shark River estuary and stuff. So I just wanted to remind people that from October 1st through December 31st, leaves may be piled in an orderly fashion between the curb and the sidewalk for collection by borough trucks, and shall be placed at least 10 feet from any stormwater inlet, catch basin, pipe, or similar stormwater collection facility. So from October 1st to December 1st, put your leaves out, don't put them on the street, put them between the curb and the sidewalk. Make sure they're 10 feet from any stormwater inlet or catch basin. And Billy Musto, our DPW supervisor, has advised me that it's not a specific day. The leaves fall, you make your pile from October 31st to December 31st. They're continually riding around town, collecting those leaves and that stuff to be taken to, where do you take it? Wherever you guys take it, to be discarded properly. So it's just important. Don't put them on the street. Please put them 10 feet from the stormwater basin or stormwater inlet, and our rivers and our stormwater management system and our Shark River estuary will all be happier if we forward that. So that's my very long report. Thank you very much for your patience on your birthday.
Thank you, Councilman McCracken. Councilman Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Council President, for leaving me nothing to talk about. You did talk to my brother, did you? Oh, yes, that's right. Leaves, if you leave them in the street, as soon as it rains, even if it doesn't rain, even if it's windy, it's gonna clog up the storm drains and make the problem 10 times worse. I know people are worried about what's gonna happen to their grass or anything like that, but our DPW picks up the leaves really quickly. Just please don't put them in the street, put them between the sidewalk and the curb. I do have a couple of things that I can still talk about. The Harbor Commission didn't have a meeting. We're gonna be voting on an ordinance tonight we found some money that we can repurpose. We're going to be redoing the fuel dock, and we're gonna be replacing the electric on J, K, and L docks, the northernmost docks. They definitely need to work. One of the things about our marina is, for the first time, I know in a long time, maybe ever, we have a waiting list for slips. It's outstanding, all the work, you all remember this, all the construction and the destruction and all that was done down there is all done, and it's really paying off, and it's a great thing to see, you know. The Environmental Commission had a meeting, and most of what they did was spend their time getting ready, because that was right before the Belmar Day event at Taylor Pavilion, which was outstanding. And I thought the Environmental Commission did a really nice job presenting the materials they got. Mazza Recycling does our recycling. They came in and had materials for us to hand out. And again, I'm going to say, everybody really, one of the things the Environmental Commission wants people to realize is that, unlike all those times I said, oh, you can only recycle this kind of plastic and that, because Mazza has upgraded their facility, and it's a fantastic facility, you can recycle basically any kind of plastic. Right now, the only thing we can't really recycle is plastic film, like, you know, bags that you can't get anymore, and the shrink wrap around your cases of water and stuff. We don't have a way to recycle that right now. But everything else, pretty much all set. And while I'm speaking environmentally, I do want to say, one of the best things about living in Belmar, I really believe, is local summer. It's amazing. It really is. You can see, I've been to the beach more in the last few weeks than I went the entire summer, because it's just great. And my family and I, we have my son's visiting, and we've taken the advantage of going around and going to some of the great restaurants that I would never go to in July and August because they're too crowded. It's been wonderful. My only real complaint is that every place I went, I was given a plastic straw that I did not ask for. And I'm sure most of you are aware, Belmar's got its own ordinance. It models the state ordinance. Our ordinance has been in effect since last November, the state ordinance since May. So I spoke to code enforcement. We're going to send another email to all these businesses and remind them. And I got to tell you, I don't fault the servers. The servers are just doing their job, you know. I absolutely fault management. The people are not being trained to just say, would you like a straw? I mean, that's all you have to do. That's all that has to happen for this. And it really gets me that some of these places just aren't thinking about this, because if you stop using plastic straws, you're going to save a lot of money. I mean, they wouldn't have to order more straws, or they could make a much smaller order. They won't use what they've got in stock. It'll save money. It's just, I think it's really either a lack of awareness or, you know, I hope it's not, you know, a lack of concern, because, you know, you all know what it's like down at the beach with all the plastic straws. And I noticed a difference this summer, that fewer straws and fewer plastic bags, and even less styrofoam down by the beach. I definitely saw a reduction in that kind of waste. So if you are out and you feel comfortable and somebody brings you a straw, just say, I didn't ask for that. You know, and if they do ask you, please congratulate them. Thank you for asking me. That's excellent. No, I don't want a straw. Thank you. And that's my
Thank you. Councilwoman King?
Thank you, Mayor. So I would like to reiterate what my fellow council members said about what a great September we've had. All the events in town have really been awesome. Belmar's birthday, I love that. The history, I was especially taken by all the old hotels that were up on our beach at one point, which was incredible. I thought the Centennial Festival was great, the Mass was great, and all the events have been great. Belmar, the autism event, and I especially really loved the lights on September 11th. Did anyone see all the lights shining up into the sky? I thought that was great. So thank you so much for all of those who participated in that. Our next ADA meeting is Thursday, October 13th. The next recreation meeting, we haven't had one, the next one is September 27th. Around the schools, St. Rose High School would like to announce that they're having an open house Wednesday, October 19th. Families are welcome between 6 and 8 p.m. to check out the high school. St. Rose Grammar School is having freshmen for a day at the high school on September 28th. Both those schools are closed October 10th for Columbus Day. St. Rose Grammar School is also having their book fair from October 10th to the 13th. And Belmar Elementary School is celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th through October 15th. So there's a bunch of events happening at the school. And that's all I have. Oh, I do. I'm sorry. Right. I got it. Sorry, Kyle. Kyle, you do that at me. I forgot. Oh, you're the pink. All right. Okay. Belmar Cares is having their breast cancer support group concert, the Atlantic Wind Ensemble, and that is happening Monday, October 10th, at 7 p.m. at the Taylor Pavilion. Okay. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, our council president covered almost all of my requests. But I want to say that, September was really a great month to have all these things because the weather was just absolutely beautiful. For everything that we were having, had a little rain on the last day of the beach bash and the surf competition, and for the 9/11 event at night, but it was very light and it didn't dampen anybody's spirits. And I really have to give it to DPW because putting all this together and getting everything set up and breaking everything down, they have a great group of guys over there, so let them know that we really do appreciate that, Bill. And of course, our police department, with the big influx of people and, taking care of everybody and making sure that everybody arrives and gets home safely. So if you can convey that to all the police officers, so they did a great job. Other than that, we have our yard sales coming up this weekend. Hopefully we'll have some more better weather, and we're marching on into fall. So that's just about all I have because Jim, of course, took it all. So, all right, we're gonna move on to the public session on any of the resolution items.
If anyone would like to speak about a resolution listed on the agenda, please step forward, state your name and address. Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolutions as listed on the consent agenda?
Motion. Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next we have first reading and introduction on bond ordinance 2022-19. This is an ordinance for various improvements in the marina. Would someone like to offer it for first reading and introduction?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next is the revised ordinance 2022-14. This has been revised to reflect the planning board's recommendations. This is ordinance amending Chapter 40 Development Regulations. Would someone like to offer it for first reading and introduction?
I'll make the motion.
Councilman Brennan?
First, I just want to thank our professionals, including Borough Clerk April Claudio, for turning this around so quickly. I'm very happy to vote yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli.
Yes.
Next is second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2022-18. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 29 regarding automatic sprinkler and standpipe systems. If anyone from the public would like to comment on this ordinance, please step forward, state your name and address. Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public hearing? All in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-18? Okay, Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman McKinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilmember Kraken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
All right, on to public session. Yes.
Nita Pecorelli, First Avenue, the Belmont Public Library. I requested an audit of the Belmont Library, and I was told the library was included in the town audit. The Belmont Public Library has an average. What?
Can't hear me.
Can't hear me.
Speak into the microphone.
Right.
You have to speak into the mic.
The Belmont, I requested an audit of the Belmont Library, and I was told the library was included in the town audit. The Belmont Public Library has an on average $600,000 beginning budget. The town audit is 240 pages, and the library is mentioned twice as a line item. There is no detailed itemized list of spending. All of the departments, the beach, the police, I could tell you how much the fire truck costs. I could tell you how much you spent on badges and everything like that. I can't tell you anything about the library. I can't tell you how much we pay Councilman Brennan to play. I can't tell you how much we pay for books or anything like that. It's just two simple lines. Bradley Beach has the same population, well, less than population than us, and our budget, and their budget is lower than ours. Every month they get 10 to 15 brand new books and audio tapes, and they have a clear and concise audit that I have a copy of. I can tell you everything they pay there. So while looking at the audit of the town, in the end of 17, there was a reserve of 101,000. I'll just give you the rough numbers. And then it said there was a balance of 237,000. But that doesn't show up in the next year. The next year they say there's a balance of 353,000, and then it has reserved 39,000 and 5,000. Now in the end of 2019, it says there's 83,000 and 33,000 on reserve. But it doesn't say that the original budget started at 600,000. And it doesn't say anything about the reserves or the balances. The numbers just don't follow through. And 2019 is when the Belmar Library was closed. At the end of 2020, the reserve was both $320,000, roughly. And then if you look at the meeting notes from January 2021, it says the 2020 budget was $605,000. They spent $285,000, and there was a remaining funds of $320,000. And then it says there was a board resolution to make a capital expense plan, and in this capital expense plan, all the money they had left over, $636,000, was set aside. Now this year's budget started out at $684,000. They spent $228,000, which leaves $449,000, and it's already October. So I'm at a loss to say I would like to follow the library money, and I believe that's my public right. I believe I should have a detailed explanation of where the $600,000 is going, and this is what Bradley Beach puts out. Now, I went to the board, I'm sorry this is so long, but I've been doing this for 4 years now. I went to the Board of Trustees meeting for the library, and the whole atmosphere is not spend money. The staff is desperate for their own bathroom. Because it's a public building, the public has to be able to go in a bathroom. And as we all know, sometimes libraries are used by those that can't afford much of anything. So the staff wants their own bathroom. Doesn't seem unreasonable to me. There seems to be $1 million somewhere. So why can't they have their own bathroom? Why can't we have books every month? Why can't we have a door? Why can't we have windows? Why is no attention being sent to the library? Why can't we have an addition? And why can't we have events again? Why can't we have bus trips out of the library in Atlantic City to plays? Where is this money? I literally see $1 million missing, not accounted for. And how can I get an explanation of all this? Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to make, I need to respond to one thing. I can tell you how much I got paid to play at the library. I get paid nothing.
Thank you.
The guys I play with,
Thank
they
you.
get paid. I don't take any money for any of the borough events that I work.
Well, thank you. So now I'll check that one off my 300 thing list of what else they pay.
I know we have the engineer down there looking at everything that needs to be done, and they're coming up with plans for, I'm not sure it's the bathroom, but I know the windows and doors and all that other. So, and
We're
they've
going
been going back and
after
forth, and I think it's because it's, what kind of building? is it?
There was a lot of research done because it's a historical building. We have to make sure we're compliant to change any of the structure. We've done that. We have a architect that's down there looking at the infrastructure, the windows and things of that nature. So that's all being handled by Mr. Hallman and our architect and our engineers and our professionals and our finance team. So we are working on that.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be obtuse or get into an argument, but I did attend the board of, can you hear me?
Yes.
I did attend the Board of Trustees meeting just recently, last week, and Mr. Hallman said completely, quoting, not quoting, air quoting, he said, we will not be going forward with the bathrooms because I had a meeting with Ed, and if we go forward with the bathrooms, we'll have to ADA both of them, and we'll lose the office. Thank you.
Anita, which staff formally requested to you this additional bathroom? Was that from the library director, or?
I don't think that's important. And it's been going on for years. They want it. We need an addition. We actually need an addition.
I mean, I'm not aware of a formal request. I'm not saying that.
So are you
I
saying everything I
disagree.
just said is completely irrelevant?
I'm just asking who we need to
This has
speak
been going
to.
on for years. We had a makerspace back in 2019, and I'd love to know where all that $30,000 worth of equipment is. Can't find that information either. There's no capital plan for the library. There's no information there. There's no budget for the library. I asked for all these things at the Board of Trustees meeting that I attended because this is supposed to be a democracy and I'm supposed to be a citizen. I'm supposed to be able to have all of this information. Am I right? Is this the way democracy is supposed to work? And I'm very interested in the library, always was, retired here, thought I'd be way big up in the library volunteering, and I can't even find out how much Mr. Brennan gets paid. But now I know, so thanks.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, Mr. Frank.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I guess it was about a week, 2 weeks ago. I saw Monmouth County around Silver Lake, at least a piece of their equipment. It looked to me like they were trimming the Phragmites. In fact, there was a good job done all the way around the lake. And I just wanted to ask whether anybody was aware of that and how that came about.
I knew it was trim. Bill, you have any
Billy
information? on that?
Musco can answer that question.
It was, it wasn't actually the county, it was, we did it. We borrowed the machine from Wall Township to do a shared service, and we cut back all the Phragmites just to prevent them from spreading further and taking over.
Oh, okay, good. I sort of, I passed the truck quick, I was in my car, and I know it wasn't a Belmar insignia on the door of the machine that they had out there, but it looked like it was the right tool and did a fantastic job. And in fact, usually the problem that you run into when you cut Phragmites like that is half of it ends up in the water. But the other day I took a walk down there and it looked like the job was cleaned up real nice.
Yeah, well, the right equipment for the job makes it a whole lot easier. The guys used to be down there in waders and chainsaws and weed whackers and cutting everything back by hand. So this time around, it was, instead of 7 guys, it was just 2 guys. And it was a week's worth of work, that's it.
Fantastic. A little bit of old news, if I could just bring it up here. And this has to do, a subject that really isn't my bag. But back in 2019, Mayor and Council passed a affordable housing development fee ordinance, and it became law back in 2019. And actually, I have some questions. I watch all the videos for the land use boards, whether it's zoning board or planning board. And I also read the newspaper. And it seems that when I take a look at other towns in our area, number one, and their land use boards, top on the headlines has to do with affordable housing. But I never hear this come up, I haven't heard this come up in the 3 years at any of the planning board or zoning board meetings.
I know, I can say from dealing with the Seaport redevelopment, it goes into their builders redevelopment agreement with the town. So whatever the affordable, what they need for affordable housing is in the so before it even gets to planning board, it is in the redevelopment agreement that we come up with. Now that's part of the Seaport redevelopment, and they have to follow all the guidelines for any of the other buildings that are being done through the planning board or zoning board. So, and our engineers and planners will make sure that that's happening. So I don't know what's happening on those other boards that they're not announcing it, but I know in the Seaport redevelopment, it goes right into the redevelopment agreement.
Right, okay. That's clear cut, and of course the redevelopment area is a whole different set of rules. In fact, I think all the rules got thrown out of there, but be that as it may. According to, and I guess this is Belmar law now, right?
It is, so.
Okay. There have been a large number of D variances issued. And this ordinance makes it real clear that when D variances that result in an increase of housing density, in other words, if a piece of property is zoned for one single family dwelling, and a developer builds 2 houses there, then he has to pay a affordable housing fee to the town. And I did send an Oprah request in this affordable housing trust fund, which was supposedly created by this ordinance. The response was, it was non-responsive, as if it didn't exist. There have been a large number of, over the past 3 years, of D variances issued, where housing density has been increased. We have one on 12th Avenue. Now maybe there's 2 lots involved there, it's zoned single-family residential, but they're going to build 24 housing units. What I would like to know is this ordinance actually in effect? And there have been other D variances issued here in town. I was kind of astonished to find out.
Okay. One, I'm kind of shooting a little blind because I'm not exactly certain exactly what the language on that paper is, because it was passed in 2019 and I probably wasn't here. But in terms of the affordable housing obligation and the affordable housing trust fund, certain developers, depending on what they're planning on proposing, major subdivision, minor subdivision, there's a lot of intricate parts in Mountain Laurel litigation, and it's actually such a niche specialty that there are specialized attorneys who just that's all they do, because it's insane. There's only 5 judges in the entire state who handle all Mountain Laurel litigation. So in terms of those news articles, when you do see affordable housing developments, It's probably because it's a result of a Mount Laurel litigation where the township was trying to turn a blind eye to its affordable housing obligations. And because they got caught turning a blind eye, the planning board ended up losing the case, and then they had to approve an affordable housing development, and that's why it usually gathers a lot of attention in the news. In terms of it being large, as far as D3 variance, and that's a departure from the FAR, which is the floor area ratio, otherwise known as a density. I do know that the mayor and council, you guys have taken particular concern with departures from the FAR, especially in terms of any proposal that's in the Seaport redevelopment. One application, if I recall correctly, was the Sackman presentation, where they proposed that overly large development, which was a departure from the FAR, and therefore, although they were proposing an affordable unit, it was still in violation of the FAR, so there was a situation. In terms of this specific instances with those applications for D3 FAR variances, otherwise known as a density variance, I don't actually know the substance of those plans, so it's kind of shooting blind of what any effect, if any, they should have had on contributing to the the borough's affordable housing trust fund. So it'd be a little bit more, but in a nutshell, I need to look into it.
Patrick, but it doesn't have to be, it has to be paid if they don't put affordables in, correct?
That's correct, so.
If they're putting affordable units in, then they don't have to pay.
That's correct.
And then they wouldn't be paying until the project's complete. Before they get a certificate of occupancy. So the project you're talking about on 12th Avenue, they wouldn't be paying into the fund until I guess the project's complete.
That's correct, provided that they don't meet their affordable housing obligation.
Right, but if they have affordable units in the project, then they don't have to pay that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Patrick, I have a question. Who do they pay?
So actually it goes to the borough in this instance, and it would be contributed to this affordable housing trust fund, and the money that's in that trust fund, visited as a trust, could only be used in furtherance of the borough's affordable housing obligations under the Mount Laurel cases.
So you could correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not under the Mount Laurel obligation right now, but you have to have a trust fund set up, because if they ever come down and say, you know, you have this building and you don't have enough affordables, that's why the trust fund was set up.
So yes and no. Yes, to the point that you were correct with the trust fund, but we are always under the Mount Laurel obligation. So the Mount Laurel obligation is a set of phases. The borough is currently not in non-compliance, meaning that you have violated your Mount Laurel obligation. You guys are actually performing well, which is good. If we weren't performing well, the Fair Housing Committee would certainly be letting us know. So.
And the Fair Housing Committee is a state organization?
Correct. They're a nonprofit organization that advances affordable interests throughout the state of New Jersey. They basically champion these cases on behalf of developers. So it's sort of called the developer's remedy, where if a developer comes in and they want to propose something in a zone for affordable, and it's not properly zoned, so they essentially need a use variance, they could apply for a developer's remedy to authorize the development of the affordable units. And if you deny the developer's remedy, well, then it could trigger a Mount Laurel litigation, and they would have to argue that the borough is in breach of its Mount Laurel obligations. So that's the Cliff Notes version. I do not specialize in this litigation. It is extremely complicated with regulations that change every other day.
Yeah, I appreciate that and your comment. I guess what I'm kind of finding concerning is that neither board, planning board or zoning board, over the last 3 years, actually, I did comment on the original housing development fee ordinance. I have yet to hear any mention at any of the board meetings as to whether a developer would be required to make either a payment if they're building market-based housing or to build affordable housing units.
So in my experience with my planning boards and my zoning boards that I represent, planning board engineers and professionals, they issue their review letters, and in those review letters generally have a standard list of conditions. And one of those conditions in the normal course is that a developer for a major subdivision either complies with its affordable housing obligation, or alternatively submits a deposit to the applicable trust fund in accordance with the applicable affordable housing ordinance. Unfortunately, the zoning board and the planning boards are two separate entities, separate and apart from the borough council, so I'm not technically their attorney, so I don't know what their procedures are. That would certainly be something that should be raised to the planning board. Planning boards do have public comment that they're also for these applications to inquire with their affordable housing obligations. The only thing that the borough and council could do at this point is pass the ordinance, which they did. They have their Seaport redevelopment plan, and everything that they're required to do under the Mount Laurel doctrine, I should say, is being performed.
Okay, I'm on board with that, but I guess I'm back to the same question. Why hasn't a trust fund been established?
It is established. The trust fund is established. My guess now, based off your conversation or this conversation, I should say, is that there's no money in it, probably because, as the mayor commented earlier, there were developments that were in the works, but if these developments aren't completed and they haven't applied for a final CO, they wouldn't have been required to comply with the condition precedent for which their approval is vested upon. In this instance, would be the contribution as their fair share to the affordable housing obligation.
Yeah, however, this is 3 years Belmar law. There have been many D variances issued in Belmar, and the construction complete within that 3-year time period. Why isn't there a affordable housing trust fund established?
Well, the trust fund is established. Maybe I'm misspeaking, because those variances could have complied with their affordable housing obligation and constructed the appropriate residences. There's a statutory criteria of how much percent have to be for moderate, how much percent should be for low, and how much should be for average low-income families. And then of that criteria, there's a further criteria for how many have to be 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom. So depending on what they're proposing, triggers whether or not they have an actual obligation under Mount Laurel. It's an extremely, extremely complex process. So I can't answer any of these questions without actually being present for any of those prospective developments. But if there are ones that should be flagged, I'm certain the mayor and council would be looking into why they're not complying with their affordable housing obligation.
Okay. Maybe when you get a chance.
So there are 8 days in the weekend.
I'm sitting there watching a year of zoning board meetings. A gentleman, a developer, building 24 units where normally 2 houses would be permitted. Okay? And there's no mention made of this, of the developer being obligated. And there are going to be all market-based. There's no affordable housing proposed. So, here we have, proceeding that's going on for more than a year, and no mention that the developer would be obligated to make payment to this trust fund. Plus, I find out.
I just wanted to say, for the zoning board, for that particular application and for all applications, it's standard language in all of the resolutions that they must comply
With their affordable housing
with the
obligation.
affordable obligation.
So,
Either build it or pay.
Yeah, while they might not discuss it, it's in every resolution. Whether it applies to that application or not, it's in every resolution.
Excuse me, April, has there been a trust fund established by Belmar?
Yes, but no one's had to pay into it yet. That was why there was no records to provide. Because there's no projects that have been completed since that ordinance went into effect.
That meet the conditions that require a payment.
Right.
I think the only one that you're talking about is the one on 10th Avenue, but he has put in the affordables in the 10th Avenue one.
6 or 8.
Yeah, so he met the obligation by putting him in the building. So he didn't have to pay as long as you're putting the obligation into the building of the building, and he meets the Mount Laurel obligation, then you don't have to pay. It's when developers come in and they don't want to meet the obligation, then they would have to pay into a fund.
I believe there have been D variances issued in town here, and the construction is completed.
Right, Patrick, the D variances is for like new construction. It's not if you have a front house and a back house and you're rebuilding your front house or rebuilding the back house to just a newer version. Those are getting D variances.
There are so many different ways to get a D variance that I can't answer definitively whether or not any of these would trigger the obligation, because you have D variances for an expansion of a non-conforming use. You have a D variance for an exacerbation of a non-conforming use. You have D variances for changing uses that aren't permitted, or having too many uses on property, or the FAR, which is a density variance. There are 5 different criteria, and what those 5 criteria further branch off into are 200 different options.
The majority of the zoning board D variances are alteration or expansion of a non-conforming use,
So it's
where it's like
non-conforming.
a two-family and they're rebuilding the two-family or rebuilding one of the structures, or there's 4 and they're making it 3, or 3 and they want to make, there's nothing new other than the one project that he was talking about that I remember.
If I had to shoot from the hip, I don't really shoot from the hip, I would just say that those don't apply to the ordinance. Again, but without being privy to the full application, my hip shot is that they don't apply, but other than the one development where the developer did satisfy his number of obligations.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you've been saying that the planning board and the zoning board hasn't made any mention of it, but and April had said that they put language in all the resolutions, and I believe that this probably covers it. The application, so applicant shall comply with any and all requirements or Belmar or any other governmental subdivision set forth in any laws, ordinance, or regulations, will obtain any permits or approvals required.
That would be.
That's in the planning, one of the planning
That's
board ones I
planning,
think you're looking at. Yeah, the zoning, I know the zoning board, Kevin Kennedy's the board attorney. He actually lists affordable housing.
Does it?
And
Condition, yeah.
the jurisdiction to give these variances anyway. It only goes to the zoning board, so that wouldn't be something that you would actually have to be concerned
Okay,
about.
well, this was on a subdivision.
Yeah.
So that's-
Then, zoning board or planning board adopts a resolution, then who follows through with that as to whether they make a payment to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund?
It would probably be whoever's issuing the final CO, because the final CO would determine whether or not they provided the required affordable units, and if they didn't, they would have contributed to the trust fund. It sounds, based off of this discussion, that there's only ever been one prospective applicant where they would have triggered the obligation, but they satisfied their Mount Laurel obligation and did provide the units, so there's no money to contribute. When the time comes and a developer doesn't want to provide affordable units, well, then they will be contributing to the trust fund. But as of now, there's no money to collect because there's no money that's due and going.
Well, I think that's contrary to actually though to the resolution that was passed.
I understand your position. I mean, I'm certainly going to look into it, but going tit for tat now, there's nothing really that I can do without actually spending some time now and looking into these applications, because you are way more equipped than I am, unfortunately. So I can only play with the laws.
You know, I believe the wording in the ordinance was, you know, hereby established a affordable housing trust fund.
Yes.
And I'm just, you know, was that like in order to the elves to open a bank account? It has to be interest bearing, and it has to have the individual property development that is included there. I'll end it at that. Actually, though, it's kind of interesting, especially with this power outage and elevator failure over at the senior building there a week or two ago. I was reading the ordinance, and apparently funds, affordable housing fees may actually be able to be used for accessibility of affordable housing. Everybody's looking, you know, when you talk about that building over there, it's federally regulated, but there's probably nothing that would be, if the borough, say, had an affordable housing trust fund, that money in that trust fund could perhaps be used to pay to increase the accessibility of the building itself.
So, Mr.
That's
Kramer, I had a call this week with a senior official at the Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency that's allocated that money out of the governor's budget, and there is in fact money in there. And I think it is a possibility that, well, the Belmar Housing Authority can certainly apply. It is possible that they would be eligible funds, but there are some very restrictive covenants as to how to access that money. And, but we're absolutely looking into it. And you know, I personally went right to the source of the person who's in charge of those funds and had a meeting. If we can access them, we certainly will.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
You? Anyone else? Yes?
Me?
Yeah.
Bob Lynch, 316 9th Avenue. There, I guess it wasn't, there's no public comment on the ordinance for reallocating funds to the marina, but you made a comment anyway. I'm glad to hear that we've located funds that it's already been bonded and it's available. They're left over from other projects, and we really need work done on the marina in a few areas. You're well aware of it. Several of the council people are well aware of it too. I want to make clear too that there is an outstanding debt still on the marina from older bonds, but they're going to be paid off. I got some information. They're going to be paid off by December of 2023. So that will clear up some of the old bonds. This new bond, it must have some time frame to it. It was issued probably to do the outflow, and then it's maybe a 10 or 15-year bond. So we should have plenty of, the revenue from the marina pays for this. There's no taxpayers' dollars pay for any of the improvements in the marina. And the old debt that's being paid off is being paid off every year from revenue that's generated from the marina. And we do have, there's excess revenue from the marina that then goes into the general fund for Belmar, which offsets taxes. So I think we have a great opportunity now. We have some funding available. We can make these improvements. We have revenues coming in from the marina. We still have, it's full, and we've corrected some other problems. We also have, the marina generates other revenue from concessions. You know, the 4 concessions that are down there are generating revenue, which also contributes to, you know, balanced taxes and lower taxes and things like that. So I commend you guys for finding this other 1.4 million. We can get started on these projects, and there's revenues from the marina to pay for it.
Yeah, we have our engineers. We have our engineers looking at everything that has to be done down the marina. We're going to set up a schedule and a time frame for the dredging, changing the piling. So, of course, we're going to be we'll be bonding again for all that. But so. You know, we're gonna get started on those 3 docks, get those wired up, and we're gonna get that fuel dock, because that's a mess. We gotta get that done. And hopefully within some of the bidding process, we can get some of the broken pilings changed out, because they gotta come in with a barge. So, and then our engineers working on, you know, the dredging process and what else we have to do down there. We know we need the bulkheading that's gonna have to be done soon. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of funding that's going to be spent down at that marina. But you know, he's going to put that whole schedule together for us. We're going to try to stick with it and get a lot of that stuff done. But yeah, we're working.
And the fuel dock, we are the fuel for the whole Shark River watershed. For every marina, every boat that's in the Shark River, we're the fuel dock. You know,
No,
there isn't any others.
we talked about it because they're paying, whoever fuels up is paying for that pond. The taxpayers are paying for that.
Yeah, so I mean, there's revenue there that pays for these improvements and these bonds, so,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. We're getting a schedule together, where we know what work we need down there, and our engineers are working on it already, so.
Thank you.
Kyle?
Howard Zatello, 14th Avenue, Belmont. Happy birthday, Mayor. I have to tell Mayor Borough, thank you for painting the stop across on K Street and 14th. It is helping. They're slowing down. They're not stopping, but they're slowing down. Townhouses took care of the growth over the sidewalks. However, they didn't uncover the one-way signs. So could you tell them to uncover the one-way signs? Couple things I want to go over. People were asking about the infrastructure of the town. Different residents were asking about it. It's a whole printout. People are saying there is no infrastructure. Yes, it is. It's right here. It's right here. The streets, the roads, the sewer lines, the water lines, the water towers, everything is being taken care of. Someone had asked me about how come 13th Avenue and K Street, why is it still flooding? Well, as far as I understand, there were two pumps that were completely replaced, not repaired, not pushed off to the side, not adjusted. Old ones were taken out, which were dinosaurs, and the new ones were put in. So if it rains, we have a high tide, we have a full moon, you're gonna get a flood. And not only that,
Just to interrupt that.
I'm
The
sorry.
flooding is because of the storm drains, and the state has a plan to try to start working on that. The pumps that were replaced was for the sewage, that when the sewage was heavy from the rains.
Right.
It would back up into L Street Beach.
Now the only thing you're getting is water, you're not getting raw sewage anymore.
Right,
Because those
and,
pumps were
and we're
replaced.
happy to say that the L Street Beach was not closed once this summer. I think since we fixed the pumps.
Since 2019, we've had no closure.
We had no closure for bacteria or anything, and it was being closed like 2 and 3 times a week from before we found the pumps that were bad.
And I do understand that, that Highway 35, which it is the state road, the New Jersey DOT, they have a plan about evaluating that area and what they want to do about the flooding issues. And it is not a borough road, correct? It is a state road.
Yeah, state.
So it's the state that has to work on that, not the borough. But however, we're doing everything we can. When it is getting flooded, we're blocking off the areas so people are not in danger. McCleary Park, there were some questions I had about some things that needed attention, and things are being moved along. Things are getting taken care of, things are getting repaired over there. I do know that that old boardwalk that was put down haphazardly, that's going to be removed. It's going to be an upgraded boardwalk, and the path that's there is going to be made wider, and it's going to be graded properly and level.
It's not going to be a boardwalk, Kyle. We met down there last month. We got a plan in place for a capital improvement plan for that whole area to get a path, take the wood away because it's wasn't constructed properly. We want to get it out of there and grade that properly. So we're working with DPW on that.
And Borough is always applying for grants, and we're getting grants. We're getting as much grants as we can. We're getting grants in the millions that are helping from the debts that the town has. And I'm all for that building on 12th Avenue going into a fire first aid building, because I do think it's the perfect location for it. When it comes to the recreation for the seniors, I know that there's yoga and other things at the Taylor Pavilion. Questions were asked to me like, when do I have an idea? I don't know why me, but do I have an idea of when you might be bringing back senior lunches? I have no answer to that.
October, we had the first one. I think it's October 26th. DJs is hosting that first one.
October 26th.
Bring your dancing shoes.
There's my answer. The skate park, there's already a
Can I just bring
plan.
up real quick
I'm sorry,
about
yeah.
that? we've had multiple conversations with our recreation director, and we realized that there are barriers for seniors to getting information, whether it be access to broadband or the ability to navigate the World Wide Web or whatever. So he's going to be creating a, probably going to be more than one sheet because there's so much going on, but a flyer, for lack of a better word, that'll list all the activities that are starting this fall through the end of the year. And he's going to keep that updated. I don't know how many times a year he's going to publish it because things change, but he's got a lot of stuff coming on. There's yoga, there's chair yoga, there's walk for fitness, there's game day every Monday at the Taylor Pavilion from 10 to 1:30, and I'm just going off the top of my head right now, so I'm going to be a little incorrect on some of these things. You know, obviously, the president declared on 60 Minutes on Sunday that COVID is over. I know some public health officials in New Jersey disagree with that perspective, but here or there, things are improving. So, you know, I know Barry is very committed to bringing programs back and wants to make sure that that information gets out there to folks and is aware of it.
Right. Things take time. Things don't happen overnight. Have to be patient. And I do know that the skate park already has a plan and works, and the footprint will probably be extended a little bit, and it's going to be built with safety in mind. Am I correct on that one?
Yes.
And the last thing was that Jody Kenny mentioned was the Belmar Cares Breast Cancer Support Group. The Atlantic Wind Ensemble is playing that concert. It is a free concert. We just accept goodwill offerings at the door, and we help local women going through cancer. And I'm happy to say I'm not once, but twice a breast cancer survivor, and it's gone. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat.
Yep. Anyone else? Yes, Maria.
I don't want to talk, but I have to. As far as the corner of 12th and A, when they repaved the road, well, when we have heavy rain, it's flooded. Not only on the south side, now it's on the north side. And that water stays there for a good day or two. And also the lines in the street for parking, they should be looked at, because when they had the white lines and they went over with the black or whatever it is, that all wore away and had no idea, you know, how to park, is it right, is it not right? And we go outside and say, you know, you're okay. You sure I won't get a ticket? No, you're okay. I feel like I'm doing the job without pay. Yeah.
Well, take a look at, I like that without pay. Yeah, that was funny.
And also, thank you for saying October that we're going to have the senior luncheon. Why don't you send us old ladies and old men a nice little list in the mail saying this is going on, this is going on, and this is.
Well, that's what we're working on.
Or Barry, we had a meeting with, you know, we had a discussion today, and to get all this in a list for everybody, whether it's monthly, and get it out to everybody. So he's going to be doing
No,
that.
I don't drive anymore.
What's your definition of old?
What's the
What's your definition of old?
Well, there's no definition because I'll be 95 next year, and when I'm 100, I want a destination.
Okay.
So if you have any ideas, let me know, because I'm all for it. I cannot hire a boat, that's for sure. That's too expensive.
We'll take a look at the
But at
flight.
the marina, maybe they'll,
What?
maybe at the marina, I could rent a boat, a senior that's been here so
It
long.
would be fun.
Sounds like fun to me.
Yeah. Come on, come on. Okay,
All
that's
right,
it, thank you.
Anybody else?
April?
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public session and adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight.
I gotta go, Marie's told me she's gonna go see the chat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.